Alright, this is Swift Kick for TFGunClub. You've already seen that Zek00GT and Crazy Ernie have put up a couple of reviews, and so this is going to be me adding to that with a couple knife reviews. I know I promised these a while ago, but just got the camcorder, so learning the process and working through it. What I'm reviewing today is actually going to be a comparison of my two favorite EDC knives. This is the SOG, standing for Special Operations Group, Mini-Vulcan, and this is the Spyderco Manix 2. Two very different knives, but in the end, both are my favorite EDC after carrying them both for upwards well over 6 months now, continuously. Love them for different reasons, and be walking through those real quick. It's going to be a short video because I talk fast, but also because I don't want to get bored. The SOG Mini-Vulcan really, to me, is the ideal carry knife, and mainly because of this right here. Their pocket clips are deep pocket clips. I work a lot in office environments, wear a lot of dress pants, dress slacks, so obviously the black facade to it is nice because you don't want to alarm people by holding a knife, but I like carrying with me as a tool. B-Play asked once in chat, do you carry a knife? And my response was yes, but this to me is not a self-defense. A pocket knife should never be a self-defense option, unless it's absolutely last resort. Reason being, you pull a knife, it's a great way to get shot. So to me, a knife is primarily a tool that you keep with you, opening up packages, prying things loose if you need to. It's just an easy way, and it's a convenient way to be able to have a tool that you can use. So the first thing of it is that you don't want it to be a tool that's going to jab you on the side. You don't want it to be a tool that's going to stick out of your pocket and be obnoxious. You want it to be something that's just kind of concealed to the best of your ability without it being hidden. So the pocket clip to me is a big selling feature because your pants line will stop all the way up here and the butt of it doesn't really stick out. It is a thicker knife, as you can see from the dimensions of it, and it does have, I'll open it up, it does have full liners. Obviously they could mill out the liners and make it a little bit lighter. It is a heavier knife, but I don't mind that. For some people that's a big deal. It's still light enough that you're not going to feel it in your pocket, but it carries enough weight that when you do have it open, that it does carry enough weight with it that you feel the weight and you can use the weight. The second thing that I like the most about it is the opening options. You can see that it is an arc lock, which is activated by this. The blade can be pulled out, but there's like a retention because of that lock. And you'll see how I open it up, how the lock shifts slightly, because that lock is part of the retention device to keeping the blade in there. Being someone who's actually put his hand in his pocket before with a pocket knife, and the blade was open at the time, not this particular knife, but a different knife, and having cut my hand open, that to me is a very important feature. So having something that the blade isn't going to pop open like that, if you reach into your pocket and you grab this, you're going to be slicing your hand open. So this keeps the blade in, but once it bypasses that portion and the blade lock gets back in, it's a free float blade. It's enough that it keeps it in there, but not enough that it will stop you from being able to open it. The thing I like most is what you saw earlier was the opening deployment method. A lot of people like the thumb stud, and it has the thumb stud on there. It's an effective thumb stud, so that you can still open it with the thumb stud. The reason I don't like opening knives that way is it requires you to release your grip. And what I mean by that is that you, instead of keeping your thumb on the blade, you're taking your thumb off, and now the blade can fall loose. In a stressful situation or a situation where you're trying to grab for something or reach for something, you're trying to open something, I don't like letting go of the knife itself to try and deploy the blade, because things can happen. If your thumb slips at this point right here, or the knife twists in your hand, now your fingers are in here and the blade can snap back on your fingers. So I've never been a fan of the thumb stud opening techniques. I know that the obvious responses will just be careful, but at the same time, you never know if you're going to have to pull the knife out and it twists, and your hands are sweaty and it twists in your grip. You don't want to even risk that. The second way that you can open it is a nice way, because you just grab, you activate the lock and you flick the knife open. And you can do this with the Manix 2 as well. But for this particular purpose, this also is kind of a nice way because you can keep a full grip on the knife, and with a flick of your wrist it comes out. The only problem is if you don't let go of the lock in time, it will actually rebound and stop there, and then you have to flick your hand again to open it. What I like is this right here. This sort of finger choil aspect to it. It's got really good jimping on there, so you can get a good solid grip. And the nice deployment to this is you keep a full grip on the knife, and you can flick the knife out. It has a very smooth opening, and you can see it's the black blade, which I like because it just kind of keeps it a little bit less conspicuous. This is after 6 months of cutting boxes, opening things, wedging things out, and you can see that it's not really worn off at all, which is nice. It's obviously a very good coating. It's a VG10 blade, so it's extremely strong metal. You can use this pretty much, and it's got a nice thickness to the blade, as you can see here, if it'll focus. It's got a good size thickness through here up through the point, and that it doesn't start the taper until this point right here on the blade, and that's where the taper starts. So it's a very strong blade in general. Like I said earlier, the jimping right here allows very easy purchase of your finger and grip on your finger. And to me, it's just an ideal carry knife. One, because it stays inconspicuous in your pocket. Two, because the opening is so smooth and easy. It's not a fast deployment, I will say that. The Manix is much faster on the deployment, but it's very smooth. You'll see that it comes out easy, but it for some reason, I don't know what it is about the pressure and the joint that they have at this aspect of the knife, that it just comes out very smooth, but it's not speed fast, which to me is not matter. I'm more interested in it being a smooth deployment. Some nicer features, lanyard hole and etc. But in the end, to me, conspicuous, strong blade, great metal, solid feel in your hand. The texturing on the handle, hopefully you can see it well in the video, is extremely effective texturing. Allows you to keep a good grip on the knife, and then the deployment and the opening with the finger that allows you to keep a good purchase on the knife if you're working with it. That you don't have to release your grip in any way to try and open it, but you have all the different opening options, whether by activating the lock, thumb stud, finger. It's just a great knife all around. So this to me is the greatest one. I will say that it came in the box razor sharp. I do need to sharpen this knife. I have a great sharpening kit, which I'll probably review later. But it does, about 6 months. This part of the blade right here is a little bit dull. This part right here has still got that razor aspect to it. One last little note is that if you look in here, I don't know how well you can see, but the blade stop right here actually hits the blade right about here. And so this little sort of 2 millimeter section of the blade actually dulls pretty quickly, because whenever you close it hard, it actually slams into that stop. And so when you own the blade, you'll see that there's like a little spot right here that you can't see in the video probably, that it's just a little bit more dull because that part of the blade is the part that contacts that part of the handle. So that's the SOG Mini-Vulcan. This is the mini version, so I believe it's a 3-inch blade, and there is a larger version, but for me, EDC carry, it's strong enough that if I needed it in any kind of defensive role, it's a very good grip, very good purchase, and a big enough blade. I would never really use this in a defensive role, so I use it as a tool. So I like the mini version just for weight and handling and sort of portability. Spyderco Manix 2, very different type of blade. As you can see, much bigger and wider. However, it's actually lighter, and the reason is that there's no liner. It's actually built by Spyderco with a G10 handle, I believe, and it's extremely strong handle. Much fatter blade, and this is their carpenter steel, which I believe is a proprietary steel by them. It's not as hard from my personal viewpoint, just using it. It's not as hard as this. This will wear down a little bit quicker, but it's much easier to sharpen. And I've actually re-edged this twice now, and it's just fantastic in how quickly it'll take and how easily it takes a really razor sharp edge. It's not a soft steel, I will say that. It doesn't wear down unless you're really cranking down on cardboard boxes or trying to chop off stuff. The first time I sharpened it, it's because I didn't realize it was a metal wire connecting underneath something, and I was trying to cut it as though it was a plastic wire, and it was a metal wire, and it kind of almost ripped the blade down the length of it, so I had to re-sharpen it after that. And then I sharpened it a second time just from, I use this knife a lot. The pocket clip's a different shade, and you will see that the pocket will stick this much out. So you will have some protrusion. I've seen Spyderco knives with this same pocket clip, but it's bent up here and folds back down. So I'm actually wondering if I may actually re-bend this, or I may see if I can get that part from them and change out this pocket clip so it's a deep pocket. instead of this version, but I do like the handle because it goes better with jeans. It doesn't stick out as much clarity wise. Deployment wise, you don't have the same options. You have this is better than, for me, this is better than a thumb stud, because you still get a good solid purchase on the knife with this, but you still can acquire sort of decent pressure on the knife as you open, and you have a lot of control over opening the blade with this, with the circle here instead of the thumb stud. But it's got a unique, because you activating the lock gives you a really good quick deployment if you need it. And so I actually, when I use this, I tend to use just to keep the fingers on the knife, and then I activate the lock and flick it out and it comes out. You do have to make sure that you haven't flicked it out too far and it's rebounded because of the impact like that. So you always kind of give it a little second shake just to lock it. But it's a nice deployment. The jimping on the back gives you solid purchase. There's two different purchases on the underside of the knife. One is here on the handle, so you can get a much more sort of length and depth on the blade if you're doing cutting of food or you're trimming an apple or something like that. If you want to do finer work, you can actually, and there's solid jimping right in through here, that allow you to get a purchase on the knife up here. Obviously you wouldn't do anything for kind of stabbing because your finger, even though there's good jimping here, your finger still can slide up the blade. So if you're going to do anything that requires you to stab into a box, you hold a little bit further back, more accurate detail work. You take a higher purchase, but you have those options with this. You can see that even with a reverse grip, if you have to get into something like a can or something like that, you have enough that it's not, you can hold the entire handle, and you have a good barricade there to handle, and you can stab in sort of canned goods if you need to on a camping trip or things like that. So you have a good deal of purchase on it. The handle itself, again, just like the SOG, has got a great sort of texturing to it that doesn't let your grip slip around. Even with sweaty hands, if you're working, it's not going to slide around in your hand. The jimping back here, same in the handle. You'll see it's not on the blade, but there's actually jimping on the worked into the handle material, and that's nice too. You won't use it as much as you would the higher purchase. This is where the jimping really bites into your skin, which is nice in order to get a good grip. Again, it's got a nice blade thickness, but it does taper from this point forwards and is full flat ground, which I will agree, Nut and Fancy is a big proponent of the full flat ground. I will agree that it's easier to sharpen with a full flat ground because the knife sharpener that I have clamps on here and you have the perfect angle, versus with the SOG you have that belly and you have the saber grind, which starts here. What that means is you get a little bit added blade strength there, but it's really not going to make that difference. I wouldn't pry as much with this as I would with this knife, just because this is a stronger steel and it's just all around seems stronger and it feels stronger. I've not tested that and don't want to because I spent money on these. But just, this is a fantastic blade for everyday use. It's easy to sharpen. It is a much bigger blade. So you'll see side by side that where the blade starts around the pivot point, that this is a longer blade, much fatter blade, and it is easier to do detail work with this knife than it is with this one. I would say, if anything, they're very, very different knives, but I love working easily with both of them. I carry both of them as much. I have other pocket knives that I don't carry as much because they simply just don't have the sort of the peripheral features that these two have in their opening mechanisms, just the strength of the locks. I will brag about that on both of these. I've read reviews on the SOG website that the arc lock just isn't as strong as, for example, the Benchmade and some other devices. I've not heard anything negative about the Spyderco lock. Both of these have never failed. I've never had issues, and I've torqued on both of these knives pretty solidly in order to make sure that the purchase was a solid purchase. So I'll say overall, you cannot go wrong with either one of these. You're going to spend about the same amount of money on both. I think I got both of these for between $60 and $70 a piece, and just these will last you the rest of your life. Both are great knives. Recommend them highly. The purchase in the pocket, and both of them grab the pocket very, very solid. I've never had a problem with either one of these slipping out, even in working around the house. Jeans or any kind of sort of a softer, smoother material, both grab the pockets really easily. I will say that I have scratched the car with this one right here. You'll see that this part sticks out a little bit, and just kind of walking around, I've not had that problem with this. I'm a little bit smoother finish, but I have scratched the car door just bumping into it with that. It's kind of sharp edge, and someone with maybe a Dremel device could kind of round these corners a little bit, but these are kind of sharp. You can scratch something up pretty good on these. Again, both are fantastic knives. Would recommend both highly. And again, I've owned a lot of knives, collected knives since I was a child, and would take these two over any other knife in my collection any day. So, hope you enjoyed the review. Look forward to seeing if quickly we can get this posted up, and appreciate your time. Talk to you later, guys.